Today, more than 5 billion people use the internet. That's over half of the world's population. We communicate, work, study, and even relax online. But now imagine, one morning you wake up and the internet is completely gone. No Wi-Fi, no mobile data, no social media for an entire week. What will happen to our minds? How will this impact the economy? Can science cope without connectivity? And what will become of society? In this video, we'll break it all down step by step. Make sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. More fascinating scientific breakdowns are coming your way. Let's start with the most obvious, our mornings. According to a Deloitte study, 62% of people check their phones within the first 5 minutes after waking up. Messages, social media, news, videos, all of this has become part of our daily routine. Now imagine reaching for your phone, only to find it useless. Messengers won't open, the news feed won't load, streaming services don't work. And it's the same for everyone around you. In the first few hours, people would feel confused. Many would even experience anxiety. Psychologists call this digital withdrawal. In a world where we are used to being constantly connected, sudden silence feels frightening. What remains? Old, almost forgotten technologies. Phone calls and SMS become the main way to communicate again. Radio and television reclaim their audiences. Paper maps return for those who get lost without GPS. There are real examples. In 2021, when the internet was shut down in Myanmar for several days, people massively switched to FM radio to get their news. Newspapers began selling faster than usual. What once seemed archaic suddenly became essential. And here's the curious part. By the second or third day, some people start to adapt. We can think something like, maybe this isn't so bad. Finally, I can rest from the endless feed. But this is only the beginning. Now let's take a look at the economy. The internet is not just about communication and entertainment. It's the true lifeblood of the global economy. According to the World Bank, every 24 hours without the internet costs the world economy between $1.5 and $2 billion. And that's only the direct losses. The first sector to freeze is online commerce. Stores can't accept orders, deliveries stop, couriers are left without work. Banking apps and payment systems become useless. Transactions don't go through, and international transfers are blocked. The situation looks especially dramatic in the stock markets. The New York Stock Exchange and Nasdaq are essentially paralyzed. No access to online trading, no price updates. For investors, this is a catastrophe, since every minute of delay can cost millions. Interestingly, large corporations would handle such a crisis better. They have backup communication channels, private servers, even satellite solutions. But small and medium-sized businesses would suffer the most. Cafes, online shops, delivery services, their business models rely entirely on the internet. A week of downtime could mean closure for many of them. In other words, an internet shutdown, even for a short time, would hit not only user convenience, but also the very foundation of the global economy. The internet isn't just about likes and videos. From the perspective of specialists, it has long been classified as critical infrastructure. For example, in NIST classifications in the US and in the European Union, the internet stands alongside power grids and transportation. And a week without it is not a minor inconvenience. It's a serious threat. Take transportation. Air travel, railways, seaports, all depend on online databases. Tickets, reservations, cargo logistics. Without connectivity, these systems begin to fail. Imagine an airport where a boarding pass can't be verified, or a port where containers sit idle without tracking. Of course, governments have backup options. Armies and intelligence agencies use separate secure communication channels. For instance, in the US, there's the SIPRNet military network, which operates independently of the internet. In a global outage, systems like this safeguard strategic operations. But here's the paradox. A temporary disappearance of the internet reduces the risk of cyber attacks. Hackers simply can't reach their targets. However, once the network comes back online, experts predict a real storm. Viruses and malware, dormant and waiting, could activate en masse. Thus, the internet is not a toy but a pillar on which state stability and the safety of millions of people depend. If the economy suffers from losses, then the human psyche suffers from emptiness. Researchers at the University of Maryland conducted an experiment. Students were deprived of the internet and all digital devices for 24 hours. The result? Participants described their state as similar to withdrawal. This syndrome was named digital withdrawal, a clear manifestation of digital dependence. In the first days of a global shutdown, millions of people would feel anxiety and stress. We are used to receiving news instantly, and when that flow of information disappears, an ancient mechanism kicks in. In the absence of facts, people start inventing explanations. Information theory confirms it. Under high uncertainty, rumors spread faster than verified data. But there's also another side. Without the internet, people return to live communication. Meetings with friends, conversations with neighbors, local gatherings. All of this gradually gains importance. In conditions of general instability, small communities become more valuable than global networks. We might also see a revival of offline media. Printed newspapers could once again be in demand, while radio stations might become the main source of news and even entertainment. History shows that during internet blackouts in different countries, radio often became the primary link to the outside world. Thus, society would first sink into panic but then gradually begin to discover new forms of cohesion and interaction. It would be wrong to think that an internet shutdown brings only chaos and losses. There are unexpected benefits too. When familiar apps stop working, people suddenly gain time. Some pull out dusty books, others go for a walk in the park, and some finally enjoy dinner with family without constant phone distractions. Psychologists note that for some, the absence of social media actually lowers stress levels. Constant self-comparison, the pressure of likes, the endless flow of news, all of this disappears, giving the brain a chance to rest. Stanford University researchers conducted experiments with digital detox, a voluntary refusal of internet and gadgets. Results showed improved concentration, higher productivity, and even reduced anxiety symptoms among participants. A week without the internet could become a kind of collective reset mode. People rediscover joy in offline activities, board games, walks, face-to-face conversations. There's a sense that time slows down and life feels more mindful. Of course, for many this would be stressful, but for some, a long-awaited opportunity to shed the digital burden. The real question is, could we keep these habits once the internet returns, or would we dive back into the online stream headfirst? And finally, the internet comes back. The first few hours turn into pure digital chaos. Millions of messages and notifications flood users' phones. Social media fills up with memes about life in the Stone Age without Wi-Fi. Streaming services record a sharp surge in views, and network traffic skyrockets. The experience of countries that have already faced large-scale blackouts, for example, Iran or India, shows that in the first days after the internet returns, user activity rises to record levels. People rush to catch up on everything they missed, check the news, restore work chats, watch videos, and reconnect with friends. But this reunion has a darker side. Psychologists call it digital hangover. After a week of silence, the sudden flood of information triggers anxiety and fatigue. The brain, which had adapted to calm, is once again bombarded with millions of stimuli. For some, the feeling isn't joy but stress. Stress from the endless notifications and the relentless chase for news. Thus, the return of the internet is not just relief, but also another stage of adaptation. A week without it would show us how deeply we depend on the digital world, and how hard it is to dive back in after even a short pause.